Today we are reviewing. We're going to compare fractions with the same numerator and the same denominator, and we're also going to review equivalent fractions, boys and girls, when they are the same size or at the same point on a number line. Okay, let's first review what we know about fractions. Here, when you have models, in this case here are some fraction bars, or we can say fraction strips. So we're going to use the shaded in fraction bars to compare these fractions. Sometimes you guys have to be able to shade them first and then use them. So remember, we're going to use the less than or the greater than or equal to symbols to compare these fractions. And as you can see here, this first bar represents, there's 1/3 plus another third, so that's 2/3 that are shaded, and this fraction bar right here, 1/6 is shaded. So let's compare. Boys and girls, we know when we're comparing fractions, we want to look for the part that it's shaded more, because that fraction tells us it's larger. And so we can say the alligator opens its mouth to the larger fraction, which in this one is 2/3, and we would read this 2/3, that is the greater than symbol. 2/3 is greater than 1/6, and that's definitely true. So that's using a model, which are fraction bars. We can also use the number line. Okay, so here we're going to compare 2/3 to 2/9. So first let me locate 2/3 right here on the number line up top. This one's divided into thirds. So here is 2/3 right here at this point. 2/9, let's find it on the second number line. It's right here. Now, when we're comparing fractions on a number line, the fraction that is closer to 1/2 is the larger fraction. So look at 2/9. Look how close 2/9 is to 0. So think, even when we're thinking about numbers on a number line, like whole numbers, numbers that are closer to 0 are smaller in value. So let's use that when we're comparing fractions. So 2/3 is larger. Alligator opens its mouth to 2/3. And we can read this as 2/3 is greater than 2/9, and that is definitely true. Well, let's look at some fractions here. I am not using a model. We don't see any models right here. I know another strategy we've learned is to cross multiply, use the butterfly method. I'm going to use that one for this one. So look, these fractions have the same numerator but different denominators, and I know a lot of you are now realizing that the smaller denominator actually has larger pieces. For example, let's I just want to show you with this picture. So down here I'll represent 6 equal parts, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the fifths. Those parts are larger pieces than the sixths. And here's 3/5 up top, and here is 3/6. Which one is shaded more? Definitely 3/5. Alligator opens its mouth to the larger fraction. We can cross multiply. You guys are loving that. A lot of you are. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. 18 is larger than 15. Okay? Look at this fraction. Let's compare these fractions. These fractions have the same numerator. When they have the same numerator, y'all, so they're divided equally, right? They're both divided into 6 equal parts. So you need to just look at the numerator, and whichever number is larger is the larger fraction. So look, here's 4, 6 that are shaded, and here are 2 equal parts that are shaded. As you can see, 4/6 is shaded more, so that's the larger fraction. And then, of course, you guys can use the butterfly method, cross multiplying to check your answer. All right, let's get into equivalent fractions. Let's review. All right, here are some models. It says, let's complete the equivalent fractions below. I'm going to do one of these. 3/4 represents this picture. Let me shade it in. One part shaded, another fourth, and the third. 3/4 are shaded. So I want to make sure I match that over here. Well, I'm going to, let's see, it's divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me write that in my denominator, and let me continue shading until the shaded part, they're both shaded equally. Because remember, equivalent fractions name the same amount. Okay? And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eighths that are shaded. So 3/4 is equivalent to 6 eighths. And boys and girls, you can cross multiply to double check your answer. 3 times 8 is 24, and so is 6 times 4. 24 equals 24. All right, let's look at a number line when we are finding equivalent fractions. It's a little different than comparing fractions. So here we're going to find an equivalent fraction for 3/4. Let me first find 3/4 on the number line. Here it is, right here at this point. As you can see, here's 3/4. Well, the cool thing for finding equivalent fractions on a number line, boys and girls, the other fraction is going to be at the very same point on the number line. And if you look at the second number line right here, 6 eighths is at the same point as well. Okay, and they're both the very same distance to 0. Okay, and again, notice how 3/4 and 6 eighths are like, 6 eighths is right below 3/4. Exactly right below it because they're at the same point. So that's why they are equivalent. All right, and let's look here, some fraction bars. We know, let's do this one. It says blank 6 equals 2/3. Well, let me shade in 2/3 first. Here's 1/3, and let me shade another third. Well, when we're shading in on these fraction bars, let's see, here are 6. We're just going to match it. We're going to make sure all of these are shaded equally. And notice they are lined up exactly right here. They're shaded perfectly. So that tells us 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 is equivalent to 2/3. Last but not least, let's say you have to find an equivalent fraction. They don't show you pictures, but here they have 3/6 equals blank 12ths. You have to figure out the numerator. Well, you can draw a picture, or you can think about when you use the cross multiplying method, you can use your multiplication facts. We know 3 times 6 is 36. Let me write it here. So ask yourself right here, 6 times what equals 36? 6 times 6. So that means 6 would go here, and 36 equals 36. So 6/12 is the equivalent fraction, or if that's kind of confusing to you, you can draw a picture. So let me, I'm going to draw 3/6 first. So here, my figure is divided into 6 equal parts. 3 parts are shaded. I could divide this figure that I just drew to represent 3/6, and I want to divide it so that I have 12 equal parts. So if I divide it equally down the middle horizontally like this, I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 equal pieces. And how many parts are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, that's why the numerator is 6. So hopefully you guys use your favorite strategy when you are comparing fractions and finding equivalent fractions.